Hello everybody, welcome to U14-L3, Basics of World War I, Part 1, and I promise you this video is not as long as the videos that you had to watch last week, because those were super long, and I feel bad about that. So your job today, as usual, you're going to watch the Ed puzzle, answer the questions. Questions I asked you in the video today in blue text are ones that I just want you to answer on the Ed puzzle. Follow along with your study guide, and any vocab words will be in red text. So you see in your study guide that I just kind of put like a big list of the vocab words for lessons 3, 4, and 5. So I'm so sorry that they're out of order. Yeah. And then learning targets. Describe the social, political, and economic causes and consequences of World War I. So before we get to that, I just want to go through the calendar. This is our last unit, Unit 14. It's about World War I and World War II. So I combined them together into one unit. This is our last unit before the end of the school year. Crazy. So here's the calendar that I have on Schoology. It might change a little bit as I make these lessons, but it's pretty much the layout. So you see here, of course, we're starting with May 8th, study guide, and then you're going to watch, or you're going to do this worksheet on causes of World War I if you haven't done so already. And then lessons 3, 4, and 5 are going to be basics about World War I. You'll also see that lessons are going to be due on Sunday at midnight like they always have been. Then we're going to get into a primary source reading on the 15th, a video choice on the 16th, and then that's going to be the end of World War I. And then on the 17th, we're going to start our study guide part 2, which is all about World War II. So on the 18th, and the 19th and the 22nd. Those are all going to be basics about World War II. Specifically in the 19th, we are going to focus in on Japan. And then on the 23rd, we're going to do an intro to Dunkirk. Then we're going to start watching Dunkirk on the 24th, 25th, 26th. And then, of course, you don't have school on the 29th. So we're going to wrap up Dunkirk on the 30th. And then we are going to do 2 days about the Holocaust. I have yet to decide quite what we're going to learn about with the Holocaust, but I'll think of something. And then you're going to end it off with a World War II video choice. And then I just want to note here, I know this picture is a little fuzzy, any missing work will be due June 4th. If you turn in missing work to me after June 4th at midnight, I will not grade it. Hands down, I will not grade it, okay? So make sure you get any missing assignments, any assignments from this previous week done by June 4th at midnight. June 5th is a study day. I'll put out an optional Kahoot, and then we'll do the Unit 14 test on World War I and World War II. And then on June 7th and 8th, it will be a final test. It's not going to be like a multiple choice test. It's probably going to be something kind of, sort of, maybe somewhat similar to what we did last semester, if you were with me last semester. But I'm still kind of thinking it out in my brain. And then June 8th is the last day of school. And then June 9th, I put in final grades. And then you get your grades, which is pretty cool, right? So let me know if you have any questions about the calendar. So let's get started on World War I. What do you know about World War I? Now, World War II really overshadows World War I. So if you don't know anything about World War I, that's fine. Just type none. But if you do know something, I would love to hear it. All right, so today we are going to really focus in on Europe with World War I. So big places that you need to keep your eye out for include the Republic of France, or just France. We'll just call it France. Great Britain, Germany, Austria-Hungary. We'll talk a little bit about the Ottoman Empire, Italy, and then, of course, Russia. So There are tensions in Europe before World War I. So due to imperialism, which we talked about all last unit, countries are fighting each other over colonies. They want the colonies for the labor and the resources. Such tensions were to get like the best colonies or the most colonies they possibly could. Like this map here, you can see all the different colonies of each of the European countries. And there was also battles between these countries over colonies. And to win these battles, countries had to have the best weapons. They needed the best armies, right, to defeat their rivals. And that led to an arms race. And that arms race led to something called militarism. And what militarism is when a country has a large army ready for war at any time. Okay, so they have the weapons, they have the soldiers, they can go to war in a snap. Germany, Great Britain, Austria-Hungary, Italy, France, the Ottoman Empire, and Russia all had militarism by the early 1900s, which means that they had a huge army ready to fight whenever the command was given. Now all they needed was a reason to fight. So Prussia, which is part of Germany, had a chancellor named Otto von Bismarck, and he unified all of Germany in 1871. So here's Prussia right here, and then he unified all of Germany to make one German nation. Bismarck did not want to grow Germany's borders. He was really satisfied with the size of Germany. He didn't want the land to get any bigger. And he also really advocated for peace in Europe. He didn't want people fighting over land anymore. But he had a big rival, and that was France. He believed France was the least peaceful country out of all the European countries, especially because Prussia and Germany had a fight with France, and they're like, oh snap, France totally lost that fight during the Franco-Prussian War. I bet they're going to want revenge. So he took some action. So to stop France from seeking revenge, Bismarck wanted to politically isolate France. And how he wanted to do that is he wanted to become allies with all the countries surrounding France. And if France didn't have any allies, that means France couldn't go to war. Or I mean, like they could, but without allies, you're going to lose. So he wanted to become allies with Belgium, with Switzerland, with Italy, with Spain, so on, surrounding all the borders of France. So he did become allies with two of them, one being Austria-Hungary, which doesn't have a direct border to France, but it does border most of Germany, as well as Italy. And together they make the Triple Alliance. So the Triple Alliance is Italy, Austria-Hungary, and Germany. So in 1888, Kaiser Wilhelm II, this dude right here with the weird pointy hat, becomes the leader of Germany. And he is very different than Bismarck. He's very power hungry. He forces Bismarck to resign from politics. And unlike Bismarck, he wanted to expand Germany's border and to not maintain peace whatsoever. He really wanted to show off Germany's large army. So Russia, which at this time had a border with Germany, was like, Germany's looking a little suspicious over there. I better make alliances. So in response to Russia seeing Germany's military strength, Russia makes alliance with France. And France and Germany hate each other. So looking at this map right here, why would Germany, okay, which is right here in that blue color, not want to fight a war against France and Russia at the same time? So Germany would fight two fronts of the war. They would have to fight the Eastern Front against Russia and the Western Front against France. And Germany did not want to do that, although they would end up doing that at the end of World War I. So Kaiser Wilhelm II focused on building a navy. He wanted a strong navy, just like the Great Britain did. And Great Britain saw that Germany was like making these mega warships, and they're like, oh snap, I think Germany's up to something. So Great Britain decided to become allies with France and Russia. They're like, hey, France, Russia, you guys like kind of concerned about Germany? Okay, let's join forces. And that helped protect against potential German invasion. So Great Britain, Russia, and France became known as Triple Entente. And Entente means understanding in French. So there are two factions of Europe right now, okay? So there's the Triple Alliance, which is Germany, Austria, Hungary, and Italy. And then there's the Triple Entente, which is France, Russia, and Great Britain, which I just abbreviate to GB, by the way. All right, so next we're going to talk about the Balkans. The Balkan countries, this is a modern map, but the Balkan countries are these countries right down here in southeastern Europe. So here is a modern day map of the Balkans. So you can see all of these little tiny countries. You can see Greece is part of the Balkans. Here's the Mediterranean, here's the Black Sea, here's Turkey, which is now considered more into like part of the Middle East. And then here's a map of the Balkans back in about 1912. So right before World War I, you can see that some of the countries are a little bit different than modern day countries. So specifically what we want to focus on is Serbia, which is right here. And then here is kind of the upper border of the Ottoman Empire, which I'll talk about really briefly. So the Balkans is in the southeastern part of Europe. It is also the border to the Middle East. It was under the rule of the Ottoman Empire, which was this gigantic empire. It was an Islamic empire, and it had been under its rule since 1299. Yeah, that's a long time. Because of this kind of like coming together between like the Middle East and Europe, there was a lot of different languages, religions, and other cultural aspects. So the Balkans included nations like Bulgaria, Greece, Montenegro, Romania, and Serbia. There was also borders between Russia and Austria-Hungary. The waterways which were important include the Black Sea and the Mediterranean Sea. And there was a lot of really high tension in the Balkans due to powerful surrounding armies, especially with Austria-Hungary and Russia. There's a mix of religions. So there's Christianity, a lot of different sects of Christianity, and also Islam, sorry. And then it was also a route to the Middle East and other important waterways. And the Ottoman Empire, which ruled it, was dissolving by the early 1900s into reasons that I won't even get into. But Russia, Austria-Hungary, and Serbia were all trying to conquer the most Ottoman land that they possibly could get their hands on. So here's a picture of the Ottoman Empire at its height. I mean, you can see it covers a ton in North Africa, Middle East, up into Europe. But by 1914, you can see they lost a lot of land. So they're mostly now focused in like Saudi Arabia, Anatolia, and just a little bit into Europe. So So Serbia wanted to unite the majority of the Balkans. Most people in the Balkans identified as Slavs, and Serbia had this main goal, which is Serbia's right here, was to make a unified Slavic country. And Austria-Hungary were like, no way, Serbia, we want the Balkans for ourselves. And Russia was like, hang on, Austria-Hungary, those people in there are Slavs, so let Serbia take them, because Austria-Hungary, you're not even a Slavic country. And so Russia was really mad with Austria-Hungary for interfering with Serbia. And Russia, which is a Slavic country, supported a unified Slavic country that Serbia wanted to make. I know, there's a lot going on. So in 1908, Austria-Hungary takes over Bosnia anyway. Bosnia is right up here. I know on the map, it doesn't really show it very well, but it's right here. And Bosnia is mostly Slavic people. And Serbia is like, dude, Austria-Hungary, Slavic people are our people, not your people. Don't take our people. Yeah. So Serbia took revenge on Austria-Hungary for taking their land. So the heir to Austria-Hungary's throne was a dude named Archduke Franz Ferdinand. And on June 28th, 1914, Ferdinand and his wife Sophie went to visit Sarajevo, which is the capital of Bosnia, which is Austria-Hungary's newly acquired land. And this 19-year-old Serbian, Gavrilo Princip, shot Ferdinand and Sophie point blank, killing them. I mean, like, this made world news. Like, this was the hot topic story. So Austria-Hungary are super mad at Serbia for killing Ferdinand. And Austria-Hungary then declare war on Serbia in July 28th, 1914. And when one country goes to war, its allies also go to war. So here's my question for you. Who else did I say were Serbia's allies? And who is Austria-Hungary's allies? All right. So Austria-Hungary's allies include Germany and Italy, and Serbia's allies include Russia, which then Russia is allies with Great Britain and France. So, the start of World War I. There's the Triple Alliance, which is Germany, Austria-Hungary, and Italy, and then, of course, the Triple Entente, which is Russia, France, Great Britain, and Serbia. But there is a name change once World War I starts, okay? So starting in 1914, Triple Alliance is not called the Triple Alliance anymore. It is now called the Central Powers. So it went from Triple Alliance, which includes Germany, Austria-Hungary, and Italy, and they changed their name to Central Powers. And the reason why is due to their central location in Europe. That's why they're central. And then the Triple Entente, which was Russia, France, Great Britain, and Serbia, become known as the Allies. All right, it's a little confusing with this name change, so here's a quick quiz to make sure that you're keeping up. First question, the Central Powers include what countries? Yes, Central Powers include Germany, Austria-Hungary, and Italy. And what countries are the Allies? Great Britain, Russia, Serbia, and France. But wait, it gets even more confusing. So Italy is super mad at Germany and Austria-Hungary for starting World War I without their consent. They're like, dude, you just dragged me into a war I didn't want. So as revenge, Italy decides to leave the Central Powers and join the Allies in April of 1915. So that's why on this map here, Italy is part of the Allied powers. And then Japan, I know, right? There's a world war. Japan comes in and they join the Allies. The main reason why is because Japan wants to spread its imperialistic power into China, and they want control of Germany's territory in China, which is just this little blue area, but they want it anyway. So here are the sides of World War I in 1915. Allies, we got Great Britain, Russia, France, Italy, Japan, Serbia, which has a really small army, so it's not super relevant. And then for the Central Powers, we have Germany, Austria-Hungary, Bulgaria, Ottoman Empire, or at least what's left of it. So again, here's another map showing all of the countries. All right, so looking ahead onto World War I, because this is just part 1 of 3. So World War I was not known as World War I when it happened, right? If you went back in time, you're like, oh, this must be the year of World War I. People would look at you like you're crazy. They'd be like, what? This is only the first? So it was only called that once World War II broke out in 1939. People would call World War I during World War I called the Great War or the War to End All Wars. And World War I lasts from July 28th, 1914 to November 11th, 1918. And World War I really became known as what we call total war. World War II is also a total war, but that is when a country devotes all of its resources to the war efforts. So manufacturing from like domestic, like household products, things that are essential, like cars, radios, appliances. They convert all of their manufacturing to making war supplies. And also any able-bodied workers would work in factories or some way to support the war effort that includes women as well, who weren't usually like in manufacturing factories. Now they would step into the factory roles, and also drafts for male soldiers to go to war. So today we talked about militarism, Triple Alliance, which turned into the Central Powers, Triple Entente, which turned into the Allies, Kaiser Wilhelm II, and total war. So next up, you're going to watch U14-L3, Basics of World War I, Part 2. Keep filling out your study guide. If you have questions, comments, or want to learn more, email me or come to office hours. All right, thanks for watching.